Welcome to the Heart-Led Business Show, where compassion meets commerce and leaders lead with love. Join your host, Tom Jacobs, as he delves into the insightful conversations with visionary business leaders who defy the status quo, putting humanity first and profit second. From heartfelt strategies to inspiring stories, this podcast is your compass in the world of conscious capitalism. So buckle up and let your heart guide your business journey.
Get ready for a heartwarming episode of the Heart-Led Business Show. Today, we have the inspiring Matthew Gillogly, an entrepreneurial eagle who soared from the greens of professional golf to the heights of business mastery. With a mission to liberate doctors from the insurance web, Matt's passion shines through as he guides them to build transformative cash-based practices. So join us as we dive into the journey of compassion-filled strategies and impactful innovation. And strap in because we're about to get on a ride that's about to get enlightening. So Matt, welcome to the show.
Awesome. Great to be here, Tom. This is great. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I've been really looking forward to this interview because we have a lot of clients in common and they all have the same kind of issues as well as being heart-led business owners. And so I think this is going to be just an amazing conversation. And I know the listeners are going to really absolutely love this.
Yeah.
But of course, the first question I always like to ask is, what's your definition of a heart-led business?
It's a great question. And I think it's perfect because when we work with clients, the thing we do that we teach our clients, as I like to say, we prepare and eat our own dog food. And first thing that we do, one of the first couple of things we do with someone is one of the challenges with having a heart-led business is people usually create businesses that are just echoes of somebody else's, right? They just basically, oh, that sounds good. I'm just going to go ahead and do that business model. And what happens is they don't really have something that makes them want to get out of bed each and every single day. And so we do this process where we dial people into the values of their organization. We have a whole process that we take them through. It's very proprietary. It's a series of questions. And, if we just ask them what are the values of their organization, they come up with garbage stuff. So we have this whole thing that we take people through. And we have this matrix. And in the center, there is one that is really the driver of everything. It's the core of everything. And then we have three others. There's a North Star, and then we have two supporting ones. In our business, our core of what we do is love. That is our number one value. Now, if you've ever been to a wedding, especially here in the States, usually during the ceremony, especially if you're in a church, one of the family members, the brother or sister of the groom or the bride will get up and they'll be like, okay, now we're going to hear from Mallory and they're going to read from 1 Corinthians 13, 4-8, right? We all know it. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love doesn't keep score for right or wrongs, all that, okay? And so what we do is that core of love and that definition is the center of everything we do, not because we're a Christian or Christ-led company. That's not the point. But the point is, people think that they're always thinking outside, right? They're always thinking, this is what we're going to do to everybody else around us. In our company, that love core, being patient, being kind, not keeping a list of right or wrongs, that's the first request that we have of everybody that works in our business and our vendors. And it starts with how they treat themselves. Because if you don't have love for yourself, if you aren't patient with yourself, if you aren't kind with yourself, if you don't keep a list of right or wrongs, if you don't sit there and rejoice in the truth for yourself, you'll never be able to do that ever whatsoever for people outside of your company. So in our case, it begins when you come to work for us. And when I say work for us, it's not just people that are in payroll. It's our independent contractors. All of our independent contractors go through this process, okay? And so, and they get exposed to this. And here's the amazing thing, Tom, is when we explain this, not only to people, it does one of two things. I had an interview yesterday with the new potential director of coaching, and I walked him through this, and you could see him melt. I've done this with other people, and you see them go, huh? What? Like, for those of you on audio, that was me raising my big bushy Irish eyebrows. So from a heart-led business, and look, this isn't, not everybody and people want to copy our values. I'm like, please don't copy our values. Like, create your values your own, right? They're like personalities of your children.
Yeah.
And so when you're really focused on that, and then everybody has deficiencies in that, Tom. So then in our process, these are all internal processes in our company. Then we actually have a process for them to go through and do some healing and things of that nature, which that's a whole other topic on another day, or we can dive into that here, whatever you want to do. But again, this key thing to understand is love has to be the core, and that it shows in our practice of working with our clients. They get frustrated when you're coaching, people get frustrated, and we're like, look, we're just coming from a place of unconditional love for you. So
Yeah.
it's amazing. It melts people, and it's fun to watch, because obviously working with doctors, it's fun to watch them twitch, every once in a while. Like, what do you mean love? What? I thought I was supposed to be really smart. So,
Well, you bring the heart into it with the cardiologist. Oh yeah, I know exactly what to do with that.
it's not a pump. It's not how you think it is. So,
You're
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, Matt, tell us a little bit about your business then, now that we have a little context around it.
So Mavrix Profit System is the name of our company. And we are on a mission to lead the exodus of 100,000 doctors worldwide from the tyranny and the slavery of the health insurance system. And the challenge with it is that doctors are groomed. From the moment they go into medical school, they are told lies. And these lies are, you're just a doctor, don't worry about money. Or your patients don't want to discuss costs with you, you're just the doctor. And when you realize that a lot of the money that is given to these medical schools, a lot of the chairs, program design, all of that, they're actually funded by some of the major health insurance companies or pharmaceutical companies, and they get to dictate the agenda of what is taught. And what happens is that they actually set up a system of grooming so that by the time the doctor goes through medical school, residency, and fellowships, and they're out in the real world paying back their $250,000 worth of debt, which is, by the way, designed specifically to keep you enslaved. Okay.
Right.
If you're a doctor listening to this, the entire system has been designed to keep you enslaved so you will not leave the medical industrialized complex, as we like to call it. And so what we do is we give and we teach the doctors the basic business skills so that they can have dominion and control over their lives, so that they can return to their purpose, their passion, and their power. Now, what's the benefit of that? So let's just look at this from an American viewpoint. And we have clients in Canada, Australia, all over the world, okay? So a lot of the systems are similar, but they're different and all of that. But if we look at this from just an American medical system, the system is controlled by 5 major players who completely control Congress and who completely control the FDA and used to completely control the CDC. People sit there and think that big pharma is actually calling the shots. The top 5 earners, the top 5 health insurance companies, I liken them to the 5 families of the New York Mafia from the 1940s and 50s. They control everything. And the largest one is the Gambino crime family or the Lucchese crime family. And they control the bulk of the operations within the 5 families. Now, for a lot of people, that's really difficult to hear. But if you look at what they are doing, they basically are doing they've taken the playbook right out of it. The health insurance companies in America do not give one iota about the patient at all. And not only that, they have turned the doctors into nothing more than their pawns. Doctors no longer get to make medical decisions, pure, unadulterated medical decisions in America. And the reason why is that the doctors are so busy and they only get to make recommendations of treatment based on your health insurance plan. They don't get to spend any time with you. They spend 7 to 10 minutes with you. If you've got cancer, how in the world can they actually spend, understand what the hell is going on with you, right? And so what happens then is the doctors are just getting abused and abused. So we teach them the business skills. I liken us teaching them the business skills. Back in the slavery days, here in the United States, and I'm sure it was in other countries as well, it was against the law to teach your slaves, your African-American slaves, to read and write in the South. And the reason why is if they taught them to read and write, then they could read things like say, I don't know, the Declaration of Independence where it says all men are created equal,
Right.
or the United States Constitution,
Yeah.
or legal books.
Yeah.
And when they don't teach business at medical school, it's the exact same parallel to not teaching your slaves to read and write. Because
Yeah.
if doctors were to realize how badly, and I'm just going to say this, Tom, I hope it doesn't offend, I'm going to use some rough language here. If doctors were to realize how bad they're getting screwed, they would be like, there would be a rebellion. And so, it's a shame. It's disgusting to me because these are the best and the brightest of a society. I mean, you work with doctors. I mean,
yeah.
do you think you and I could have made it through like a year of medical school? I mean,
No. Oh. How are the medical systems kind of connected to big pharma and to insurance, the big insurance companies? Because it seems like all three of those are creating this conglomerate of sickness, if you
Yeah.
will.
Well, okay. So first and foremost, you have to understand how the system is designed. And when the Affordable Care Act, otherwise known as Obamacare, was created, there were a couple of things that happened. There's always I love the law of unintended consequences, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm always fascinated by this. Like, people are like, oh, this is going to be a great thing. This is going to be fantastic. We're going to put this law in place. And I'm like, well, come back to me in 10 years, right?
Yeah.
Because the history of the world has all these things of the laws of unintended consequences, right? The unintended consequence of the Versailles Treaty. We're going to make sure that Germany never comes back. Boom, we just created the seeds of World War II, right? Like, and the annihilation of 50 million people, okay? So when you look at what happened, essentially what happened is most people don't realize is up until the 11th hour, the hospitals were not on board with this. The health insurance were not necessarily on board with this. All of a sudden, everything flipped.
Why?
So I'm playing golf about a month later with a very good friend of mine who is a major analyst for a major company that manages people's money and does trades of like no less than 50 million or $100 million, right? Like big. Okay.
Yeah.
And we're playing golf. We're members of the same country club. And he goes, yeah, he said, I'm telling all my clients now that they need to buy healthcare stocks. And I go, why would you do that? And he goes, because Obamacare is going to be a windfall for them. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, they basically just guaranteed the bad debt. The federal government just guaranteed. The hospitals carried billions of dollars of bad debt. People come in, they can't pay. What are you going to do with it, right? So the federal government is basically coming in and guaranteeing a huge portion of that. The second thing that happened to it is the progressives were really excited and they go, we're going to make sure that the health insurance companies, they can't profit more than 10%. We're going to drive their profits down. And so therefore, we're going to make sure that prices stay low. Well, Tom, you're a businessman. If you did $100 million and you were bound by the federal government that you couldn't profit more than 10%, you'd make 10 million, right?
Right.
If you wanted to drive your profits up and you had a cap on the amount of profit that you could have, what would you do? You would increase your revenue. How do you increase revenue? You increase rates. Okay. Of unintended consequences. What has happened is there's been a massive consolidation since the implementation of Obamacare. Now, I'm all for health insurance for people that can't afford it, right? Like, please do not sit here and think that I'm telling you that Obamacare is a bad thing. I think it kind of sort of is, but that's another topic, right? Like, all laws have problems, right? So what do the health insurance companies do? Well, they now are flush with cash, our taxpayers' cash.
Mm-hmm.
They continue to raise rates. Their profitability has gone through the roof. Over $450 billion, I think, since they've profited since the implementation of Obamacare, right? And it's going up exponentially every single year. So here's the other thing they did. Everybody's like, well, won't the insurance companies want to make sure that people are healthy? It would lower their costs. That would make sense. No. What they did is they started buying the pharmacy benefit managers. And Brigham Bueller, if you can go to Joe Rogan's podcast and Google Brigham Bueller, he does great analysis of this. I've had a chance to meet him. And what is a pharmacy benefit manager? Well, really quickly, they were put in place to drive the price down they were supposed to negotiate on behalf of the consumers to keep the prices low. And what's happened is they've now become the middleman, and all these companies, these pharmacy benefit managers are controlled. So the biggest profit center for all the health insurance companies is the pharmacy benefit manager. And the pharmacy benefit manager makes a cut of every prescription that is written.
Wow.
Okay. So they make more money putting people on called a statin or diabetes medication than they do making sure that you are healthy. And so what's happened in all of this is the doctors, then on top of it, you have all these hospitals are flush with cash. And I forget the exact statistic. I'm in the middle of writing a new book, but and the statistic is in there. But basically, it was something like, I don't know, 12 years ago or 15 years ago, 78% of all doctors were self-employed. Today, it's 22%. So now what do they have to do? They got to buy up all the competitors, and venture capital has gone into it. So now the doctors are nothing more than a line item on a P&L sheet of a company that's owned by the venture capitalists.
Yeah.
And so what we've done is we've created an Americanized system of not a single payer system. We've created an Americanized system of about 4 to 6 health insurance companies that control the entire show. They're the largest contributors, by the way, to all political parties. By the way, the progressives are some of the largest contributors. They contribute the most to, you can Google it, by the way. Okay. All you have to do is go look at some of the interviews that have gone on of over the last year in America and when you realize how much money these politicians are given by the health insurance companies to their PACs and the pharmaceutical companies for the news organizations online, for Facebook, for Fox News, CNN, is over 85% of their ad revenue is pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
So they can't, it's like this whole thing's entrenched, Tom. So now these doctors are just like, they no longer have autonomy, and that's not good for patients.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So connecting that back to kind of your mission of helping these doctors, what kind of head trash do some of these doctors come in? Because obviously they've been ingrained in that system for probably 10, 15 years at a minimum. Now they're coming out of that system. They want some more autonomy. Like, what are some of the things that you need to work with them on to get them to kind of make that switch to being heart-led and making a profit? So,
well, one, what happens in medical school is their heart is disconnected from their head. And so they're taught, the entire system is designed so that they have no heart. They're taught in medical school that they are to be the smartest, the best, and the brightest. That's, if you're the smartest, you work the hardest, you work the longest, you're going to be the most respected. Okay. And the other thing that they do is they tell them all kinds of lies about their patients and money. So here's one of them. So one, they create a system where they're disconnected. It's all about their head. Be a silo, be the best, beat your competition. It has nothing to do with creating an environment that's collaborative, that's in the best interest of the patient. So when they first come to us, they have this very clear, they have this understanding or this belief system that they're supposed to be the smartest in the room. And they'll share some stuff. You do see people share. You see it more and more. Like, they do share. That's not the point. But they basically create this environment where they're just insulated. Like, if you look at the fact that suicide rates are 2.5 times higher in the medical space than they is the rest of the world, all of this, right? Like, the numbers are stupid. Yeah. So then the second thing, here's the number one thing that we hear. Somebody stops by our booth. We're at an event. And they're like, wow, I'd really like to start offering cash-based services. And here's what they say. But Matt, I've tried and my patients won't pay. And I hear this from doctors in Manhattan, Kansas, Manhattan, New York. Okay. Yeah. And I hear it from rural doctors. And here's the cold, hard truth. As pissed off as doctors are at the American medical insurance system, the patients are 10 times as pissed off. And the patients for our clients that are in the regenerative medicine space, orthobiologics, BRP, BMAC, adipose, all that stem cell stuff, and the longevity space, the functional medicine space, all the cool stuff that we do. Their core customer is somebody who is 55 plus, and they just got done paying. They might be on Medicare, and I know 55 plus is not Medicare, but they might be 65 and they're on Medicare. Right. They just got done paying for their $20,000 European vacation. Yeah. And so they believe, they are falsely told, the doctors are told a couple of things. Patients won't pay out of pocket. Everybody wants to have insurance. It is a bald-faced lie. There is not a shred of effing evidence that suggests that to be true. In fact, all the evidence suggests, every bit of evidence that comes out suggests and tells us that the patient doesn't want the health insurance companies involved in their healthcare with their doctor. Yeah. They want to be able to have the conversation with their doctor about their health without some plebe sitting in a cube somewhere who has zero medical training talking to them about what is allowed under their plan. They want to be healthy. Okay. And so they're saying, this is what they tell the doctors. Oh, you're just a dumb old doctor. You don't want to be discussing money with your patient. That's beneath you. A doctor should never, ever discuss the cost of care with their patient. I have doctors come to me and say, in front of audiences, Tom, and they go, but Matt, when I was in medical school, or when I was in residency, my attending said, you never want to discuss money with a patient. That is beneath us as a doctor. We are only doctors.
Yeah.
I mean, all you have to do is just look at the data, right? Just screw the data. Next time you have a couple people over to your house, ask them, would you like to be able to spend an hour with your doctor and discuss the options and the cost and the implementation of your healthcare? And I guarantee you 90% of the people will be like, heck yeah.
Yeah.
Like, why is it in America we just decide, well, I know why it is in America, because we're driven by the almighty dollar.
Right.
And the health insurance companies have one role and one role only, and that is to profit.
Yeah.
Same thing with pharmaceutical companies. They don't care about you at all. They try to convince you that they do. They do not care about you at all.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. And I remember my PCP when I lived in Houston, he went into a concierge practice, started a concierge practice, and only took 600 patients only at 1,700 at that time for the year. And I was like, I did the math on that. I was like, okay, so that's an instant $1 million for his practice. But he was full and had a waiting list. I had to wait like 3 months to get on his register. So to your point, people are absolutely willing to have a better experience at their doctor's office. So how do we help the doctors then realize that it's okay to be heart-led and still make a profit and just not be, jerks about it like the big pharma and insurance companies are doing?
Yeah, that's the other thing is, I don't want to make money. I don't want to take advantage of my patients. Well, that poverty mentality, that head trash, what that really is designed to do to them is to make sure that their business doesn't succeed. Because if their business doesn't succeed, one of the big challenges that the hospitals are having is getting people to come work for them.
Yep.
So you have medical professionals, providers, doctors, nurses, PAs, they are burning out because they spend 18% of their time on doing paperwork. They spend on average with 7 minutes with a patient. You can diagnose a hangnail in 7 minutes. Okay.
Right.
Okay. And all they do is they just send people for test after test because they don't want to get sued. So to get them to be heart-led, the thing they have to realize is there's a couple of different phases that they're in. In our business, we generally get them when they're further down the river, as I like to call it, where they have gone to like some functional medicine events and they've heard the science from their peers about the results that they're getting. Yep. I'll use hormone replacement therapy as a great example. One of my dearest friends is Donna White. She owns BHRT Training Academy. She's released a beautiful book. She works with practitioners and she is doing a hormone revolution. In fact, she just got invited to an FDA symposium and was on this panel. And when she's been teaching people how to do hormones for 25 years, and the biggest lie that's been put out there is that hormones are bad for you. Okay. That no women should be on hormones, right?
Right.
Now, this data, by the way, this BS data that they have is about 20 years old and it's never been able to be replicated. But there's literally 25,000, 30,000, 50,000, whatever the number is, studies on PubMed that show the efficacy and the benefit of hormone replacement therapy, not just in women, but in men. Okay. Right. Well, doctors hear that one thing. And because they're so busy, because they're working 80, 90 hours a week, because they're seeing 60 patients in a day, they don't have time to educate. So they're just, whatever they're told, that's what they start to believe. And so once we get them to a place that they're a little bit further down the river, that they've learned about regenerative therapies and they've learned about functional medicine, then they go, well, they start a business or they start trying to do this and they're struggling financially and they've now tasted a wee bit of freedom and they don't want to go back into the system. Yeah. And so what we teach them, one of the things that we get with them right off the bat is, look, I understand you don't want to be greedy, but you want to stay in business, right? Yes. Do you want to be able to pay yourself a salary, a living wage of at least, what you would make, like $200,000, right? You're a doctor. If you went to school for 12 years, $250,000, you want to be able to pay your medical bills. You want to be able to send your kids to college and not put yourself into debt up your eyeballs. Like, do you want to do all of these things? Okay. Yeah. Okay, great. Let's teach you the basic fundamentals of business so that your business thrives and you can survive and you can pay people a great rate. and you can continue to treat more and more patients, because the more successful practices we have in place that are profitable, that have money, right? That have cash in the bank, that they're not sweating out payroll every other Friday, the more people we can serve and the more we can, we're not going to change DC. Okay. We're not going to change the politicians. We're not going to change their influence. They're going to play their game, but we can have a groundswell and we can actually start to change the health of our country and the health of this world. And we can do some good. We may not be able to save everybody in America, but at least we can save people within a 25-mile radius around our office.
Yeah.
And we can do some good, right? I mean, they're healers.
Yeah.
And they're not able to heal, right?
What's interesting too, and the kind of fallacy that I think a lot of people have is, well, I make more money, I have to charge a lot, people aren't going to be able to afford me. But if they're able to make a profit, now they're able to give back to the community, and now they can start to give money to people that could use their help or volunteer at the same time and not be stressed out about it.
I have a client in Wilmington, North Carolina. He does PRP, BMAC, regenerative therapies, orthobiologics for back. He's a pain management doc. His specialty is backs. It's always been backs.
Cool.
And look, he has a large contingent of people. Wilmington is a land of the haves and the have-nots, right? And he has a large contingent of people that come in that they're not pill seekers. He's not a pill mill, right? But they're doing blocks and steroids and, epidurals and all that. But as he says, he makes orthobiologics available to everybody. It's part of his presentation now, right? And what he explains to them is he goes, look, taking the pills, doing the shots, doing the physical therapy isn't working. It's not going to work. There's an option before surgery that we want to take you through. It's highly effective, blah, 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 blah. And I think a protocol for him is like $10,000 to $15,000. Okay. And when I first started working with him, I think it was $2,500. No, he was losing about $1,500 per procedure. Literally. Okay. We lose $1,500 a procedure, but we make it up on volume. One of my all-time favorite lines, right? Isn't that great, Tom? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I love that line. And so I said, look, John, if you're profitable, you can create a foundation and you can treat hundreds, if not thousands of your patients that can't afford it. And you could see his eyes light up. And he went, oh, I said, you can finally be a healer, John. Yeah. Did this with a client of mine in Golden, Colorado. Same thing. She was struggling. And I finally said to her, we were doing a consult. We do these breakthrough days where they come and we spend like a day. I spend a day with them and we do a lot of inner work and all of that. And I said to her, and I said, what's the number one thing that keeps you up at night that you would like to fix? She goes, well, did you realize that 1 in 5 kids go to bed hungry every single night in Colorado? We do some quick math. We figure out to give them healthy, organic food. It'll cost X amount of dollars per day. And we figure out that it's about $2.5 million a year to make sure that they get healthy food, not the crap that not the crust. Yeah. Not that's going to make them have type 2 diabetes. Okay.
Right.
And I said, now, what if your business funded that? So now, because they're not capitalists like you and I, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, capitalist is not a dirty word.
Right.
To some people it is. To me, it's, beauty. It's beautiful. Like we can make money and do things for people. And when we can get into that place where we're like, look, you can have a heart-centered business. You can serve your community, right? Isn't that how we serve our communities today? People that make a lot of money pay a higher percentage of their income in taxes, right?
Right.
And that is designed specifically to help people that have less. Yeah. Well, the difference in this case is we don't have to have the government's hands in this, and we can control this, and we can get closer to the problem faster. So it's a beautiful, we can change this, Tom. We're changing it now. We're already making a massive positive impact in healthcare in America. Okay.
Yeah.
But we can do more of it.
Absolutely. Nothing would make me happier than to see those insurance companies fail and actually do what they're supposed to do, which is for catastrophic, injuries and things like that, and actually just stay in their lane.
You mean like actually lower the cost of healthcare? Because we pay like 3 times more than the rest of the world. We spend like 4 to 5 times more than any other country in the world, right? And I think it's something like we spend 4 times more than anybody else. Okay.
Yeah.
We have the absolute worst outcomes. We are like 50th or 48th in health.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's ridiculous. No other country in the world allows drug companies to advertise on television or advertise, period. And every time that I visit the States and watching TV, I am appalled by the number of advertisements. And they're not the 15-second spots. They're like a full-on minute with, like half of that with, what could go wrong. They always do it right before the really good tagline, and this could cause death, but Sally loves it.
Yeah.
If they took some of that money that they're spending on advertising and actually did, the good work that they should be doing in terms of lowering the prices and making healthcare affordable to everybody, I think the world would be much better. But we are where we are. But, people like yourself and the doctors that you work with need to, lead the charge. Obviously, and you're doing a great
I grew
job.
up in a very politically active family. My father was heavily involved in the state of Illinois, political, like he helped get a couple of United States senators elected. Like he wasn't at the Chicago level. He was at the kind of the federal national level. He really believed in the goodness of mankind, and he believed in the opportunity and the goodness for government, right? I grew up Irish Catholic in Chicago. We had John F. Kennedy's inauguration speech in the foyer, right? Like,
Right.
I mean, come on, okay? My father, he died when I was young, but I do remember this. And he said, Tip O'Neill, the former Speaker of the House, who my father had an acquaintance with, said this. And he goes, if you want to change the world, start with your country. If you want to change your country, start with your state. If you want to change your state, start with your city. If you want to change your city, start with your precinct. If you want to change your precinct, start with your street. If you want to change your street, start with your home. If you want to change your home, start with yourself. We get so hyper fixated as I'm going to fix the world, right? And this goes back to, by the way, what we started out with of talking about love.
Yep.
If you can't fix the things that are in your heart, how are you going to fix all the other things that are wrong in the world, right? And so what I tell my doctors is, look, Washington, D.C. is going to do what Washington, D.C. is going to do. I pray to God that we get rid of advertising for pharmaceutical companies on TV. The lobby is pretty powerful, and Facebook would lose probably 50% of its value. Fox News, CNN, they would all lose massive chunks of their value because they make literally 80% of their ad budgets are funded by the pharmaceutical companies. Okay.
It's amazing.
But we can fight a different battle. And if you just focus on the patients that are coming through your practice today, let's say you have 1,000, let's say you have 100 that come through your practice every single week. And I know the number is much higher.
Right.
I know you're not going to you're not going to convert all 90, but if you convert 10, if we just convert 10% or 5%, think about what that can do for the health of our country. Think about what that can do to lower the cost of healthcare. It may not move the needle a lot, but it can move it in the right direction. And we can take back the narrative. We can take back the heart. We can take back our country. We can take back our healthcare. And, revolutions are funny things, Tom. Mm-hmm. They start slow, they start small, and before you know it.
Yeah, exactly. Bunch of tea in the harbor as well. What a great conversation. And I love your passion around the love aspect and helping the doctors realize that even if they charge a lot, they can still give back to the community and still help humanity with their healing powers. I love it.
Yeah. Right. They want the doctor involved in their healthcare.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
So, Matt, how can people learn more about Mavrix Profit Systems and everything that you're doing?
Simplest thing is they can go to Mavrix, and it's spelled Mavrix, MavrixProfitSystem.com. And you put in /PLAN, you can actually schedule a discovery call with one of our team members, Christine. And in that call, she'll talk to you about your business, about what you're dealing with. If you would like to learn more or see if this is possible to be able to do in your practice, or if you don't have a practice and you're looking, I will tell you about 20% of our client base is leaving the hospital system. They've had enough, and we help people start from scratch. We have clients that are starting from scratch, leaving the hospital system, never had a business before. We help them get to $100,000 a month within 12 months. If you have an existing insurance practice and you want to start adding in cash-based services, our average client adds in on average $50,000 of new cash revenue in the first 90 days. And by the end of that 12 months, again, they're adding an additional at least $100,000 per month. And then the other group of clients for us is people that have an all cash practice, generally in the functional medicine space, but they're stuck. They usually plateau at like $50,000, $80,000 a month. It's routinely, we get our clients to $250,000 to $400,000 a month within 12 to 18 months. Here's the best part for all of them. They all work less hours. They see less patients. I have clients. I have an orthopedic surgeon in Skaneateles, New York, which is between Syracuse and Rochester in Western New York. It's a town of 7,000 people. It's a blue collar, no collar town. His cost to come see him is $3,500 for the initial visit. His average treatment plan is at least $14,000. And he now works 2 to 3 days a week. And he uses that time to go volunteer his skill set as a highly trained surgeon and things like that to serve in his community. And he is, as his wife said, I went up there for dinner. He's a very good friend of mine, Dr. Mark Pietropoli. We've become very good friends. I'll go up and see him at least once a year in Skaneateles in the summertime, not in the winter, because it's cold as hell.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm at dinner with he and his wife leaned across the table, grabbed my hand and said, thank you. Thank you for giving me my husband back. It's nice to see him after 25 years. So his son has pulled me aside and said, I don't know what the hell you've done, but it's great to have my dad around. So yeah, we can do some great work, Tom. It starts with, I've had enough. I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. And then just let us take you by the hand and lead you on the journey. We've led hundreds and hundreds of doctors out of the plantation, and we're going to lead 100,000.
Nice. Love it. What a great mission as well.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. And Matt, thank you so much for spending your time with us today and sharing your wisdom and your passion for heart-led businesses, and definitely for the doctors to use their heart more and make a profit at the same time.
Tom, thank you for all the great work that you've done with my clients. You've made a massive positive difference in their lives and their children's lives. You know, our doctors that work with you, you help solve one of the biggest problems that they have that really becomes a constraint in their business, is helping them get people in and ready to buy and ready to go. And my clients that have worked with you, I've seen their businesses skyrocket, and I've watched them reduce the amount of hours that they work in their practices and build other teams up. And so the work that you're doing is allowing the doctors, the founders, to be able to spend more time training their staff. They get to hire people out of the insurance system. They get to help other people see the light. And you're doing great work to have great positive impact in their communities. You are solving a massive problem for these doctors. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for saying that. Thank you. Appreciate that. It's always good to hear that, when you're, entrepreneur, you're in the business, and, not always do you hear that. So thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
You're welcome.
Same right back to you too, Matt.
You got it, brother.
Thank you, listeners, for tuning into today's episode. I really appreciate it. I know Matt really appreciates it as well. And make sure you're checking out everything that Matt's doing. We're going to put all of that down into the show notes, so you can just click those links and go get that discovery call, see if you can get off the plantation and start leading with your heart and making a profit, and then giving back to the community at the same time. And while you're down there clicking away, check and see if you can go ahead and give a review to the show. I would really appreciate that as well. It helps spread the word about heart-led businesses and help those that are wanting to create a heart-led business and not quite sure how to do it. So until next time, lead with your heart.
You've been listening to the Heart-Led Business Show, hosted by Tom Jacobs. Join us next time for another inspiring journey into the heart of business.